Welcome to Trudge the Road. It's sponsored by Caron Treatment Centers. Caron's a nonprofit leading provider of drug and alcohol addiction treatment with treatment facilities in Pennsylvania, Florida, Texas, and offices in Bermuda, Boston, New York, Philadelphia, and Washington, D.C. They can be reached by calling 1-800-854-6023, or you can go to their website, caron.org. That's CARON.org. We're your hosts. I'm Rich, a recovered drug addict.
My name is Jerry, and I'm a sober alcoholic.
And the way we've been doing it from the beginning, Jerry, is you let everybody know, why do we do this show?
Trudge the Road Radio is a program dedicated to folks like us who suffer from the disease of addiction to alcohol and to drugs. And every bit as important, family members and friends, you got a lot of questions. Our goal here is to answer as many of those questions as we can, and with the good grace of God above, provide a solution to this incredible dilemma, the disease of addiction.
All right. Just a few weeks back, the Kentucky Derby took place, and you're very familiar with this city because
I got sober in Louisville.
Louisville.
Yeah, Louisville.
Yeah, just in case anybody's wondering, is it Louisville?
It's Louisville.
Okay, because I've heard people call it Louisville.
Yeah, in Louisville, it's Louisville.
Louisville.
That's what the locals will call it, Louisville.
All right, and you have a story that I'm sure several of them probably.
Let me just tell you about the recovering community in Louisville, Kentucky. And, we have been blessed, both of us, to experience the recovering community all around the United States and witness a lot of groups and a lot of different cultures. And I just have to say this, and it's not a kiss-up thing, but there is something that's very, very incredible about the recovering community of Louisville, Kentucky. It's just difficult to define. I really can't put it in words, but there's just such a cohesiveness, such a connectedness that really I haven't found anywhere else, and that's in Louisville, Kentucky. And of course, now on the other hand, when it comes to places to drink,
Right.
Louisville is one of the best in the United States. I mean, that's where they make it. That's the bourbon. The bourbon is there. The gambling is there. It's all there. I don't know if it is because that type of behavior attracts maybe folks like us. I'm not quite sure. But we do have just an amazing group of people, and those are the people who provided me the opportunity to do the 12 steps and to be happy, joyous, and free. And I love Louisville. And Louisville is one of the greatest cities in America. And put this one on your bucket list. Go to the Kentucky Derby. I mean, it's right up there with going to the Super Bowl. It is just an amazing experience, and I've experienced it both homeless and drunk, and employed, doing well, and sober, and it was an amazing experience both times.
Now, homeless and drunk. There's where we want to focus.
Oh yeah. How does one celebrate Derby week when you're homeless and drunk? Well, there is a way.
Do tell, Jerry.
You have to understand that in Louisville, it's Derby week. It's not just the Saturday of Derby. I mean, it's the whole week, and the whole town parties like it's Derby.
Right.
I mean, it's just that is the definition, and I think you can compare it to maybe Mardi Gras. There's a lot of drinking going on. I mean, it's mint julep city. So here I am, homeless and alcoholic, living on the streets, and I want to participate in all the festivities of Derby week too.
Sure.
So first thing we have to do is raise a little capital. Got to have a little walking money. So it's Sunday, so I go to the newspaper machine, put 50 cents in, and then take all of the newspapers and do that to several others. So I got a whole bunch of newspapers.
You're that guy.
Yeah, and then I go stand in front of the cathedral, and as people are coming out of Mass, I sell them a newspaper and usually get a tip out of the deal, because I'm a poor homeless guy. And by the end of 3 Masses, I'm up about $70. Okay, so we got a little bit of walking money. Now, of course, maybe it's time to dine, and you want to eat a little bit better during Derby week. So what I would do is call Shakey's. It was the place. It was a pizza place there in Louisville, and order a pizza. But I wouldn't order a pepper. I'd order something like pineapple and lima bean, something they couldn't pawn off on anybody else.
Right,
all right?
Right.
And then just sit back by the dumpster and wait 45 minutes for my pizza to be delivered, So we've got a pizza. Now, of course, it certainly is cocktail time. And you're in downtown Louisville, Kentucky. And for folks who know downtown Louisville, you've got the Galt House and the Seelbach and the Brown and all of this stuff going on. And that's where the center of all of the festivities are. And they have these julep parties, mint julep parties. And sometimes businesses throw them, and companies, things of that nature. But what they are an opportunity for you to come and have a mint julep. Now, let me ask you this. Have you ever had a mint julep before?
No.
Have you ever had one back there?
No.
Well, all right, they're incredibly strong. I mean, they're pure booze is what they're. The best way to describe what a mint julep tastes like is get some real good bourbon and put a shot of scope in there. The mouthwash.
Sounds lovely.
They're nasty. And they're so incredibly strong that I'm telling you, 9 out of 10 people really who get a mint julep will take one sip and go, "Whoa, that's all I'm going to have."
Because I'll be honest with you, when you say a mint julep, it sounds almost, and excuse me if this sounds sexist, but it sounds kind of girly.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's anything but.
It also reminds me of the story that you told a couple of weeks ago about the whiskey skipper, So you've got this mint julep, and immediately I'm thinking, that would taste pretty good.
Oh, you'd think so. No. You got to have a real taste for that stuff, And seriously, most people will just, I experienced the mint julep and set it down. So I would go to these julep parties and just wander through because there would be lonelies just sitting there, people who've taken 1 or 2 sips out of their mint and just set it down. And in a period of 10 or 15 minutes, I could knock down about 9, because they would just be sitting there. And then again, boom, take off out of there. Now, of course, at this time, see, it's a freebie out to the track on the bus, so I've got $70 and it's racing all week out there. And you really don't want to go out on Derby Day because that's just a little too expensive, know. But you got to hit the track because you got this $60 or $70 that you made selling newspapers that you've got to invest out there because in my mind, as you see, I'm about to win $500,000. And the answer to all my problems back then, it wasn't alcoholism, the problem was I was way underfinanced, and I'm living in a tree and this is no good. So I'm going to hit it big. And then here comes that projection, and by the time I get to the track, my blood alcohol level after, all of the mint juleps and whatnot, maybe just a little on the high side, not making great decisions there as I make the bets. And of course, lose the money and that cycle starts all over again here. So it's a crazy syndrome, and but the craziness doesn't have to necessarily stop because it somewhat continued even in sobriety, and I'd like to tell you about that coming up.
If you would.
Yes. Fast forward 6 years. Okay, all right, I've gotten clean and sober, and I am a drug and alcohol counselor at the time, working at the St. William Center in Louisville, Kentucky, and working part-time at one of the local radio stations. And I do have to give credit to John Ramsey and to this cat named Greg because they play kind of a significant role in this. And again, it kind of comes back to alcohol, but again, kind of the fun that you can have being sober. And it struck us, John was doing a live broadcast at a pawn shop in Louisville, Kentucky. And that's where the idea hit. I was there with him just to be there. And there was this old Ernst & Jennings wheelchair. That's when we said, this is perfect. All right, so we had to have that wheelchair. Now, I'm going to tell you something very significant about the culture of Louisville, and that is to be in the infield, if you will. It's where all the local folks hang out, but the big goal is to sneak your liquor in. Now, you can buy a river of it while you're in there, and it's not to be cheap or anything of that nature. It's a local contest. Who can be the most creative about getting their booze in there? Once you get it in there, you got it in there, tip of the hat to you, that type of thing. And that's where that spawned this idea in sobriety. So we take this old wheelchair back to the radio station, and there's this engineer, Greg, and we brought him in on this deal because what we wanted to do was attach a pony keg underneath this wheelchair and be able to try and sneak it in so we would be the first ones to be able to sneak alcohol, actually, with none of us having any intention to drink any of it, just get it in there. Now, Greg, he's this type of guy, engineer at a radio station. Those guys don't do anything halfway, He didn't just attach the pony keg to underneath the wheelchair. He spot welded it, It was a perfect job. And then on Derby Day, we show up at Derby going, into the infield, and I sit inside of the wheelchair, and they put this kind of Afghan blanket over me, and not to be inappropriate, but maybe I looked like I was somewhat disabled.
Right. And I think that was the goal.
That was the goal. Yes.
You put on that shawl, and it kind of makes you feel. That poor guy's probably cold.
Not only did we get in with the pony keg underneath there, they made everybody get out of our way so that they could get this poor guy in. And we got in there. We got in the infield, and I jumped out of the wheelchair. There was 3 cops standing right there, and we show them the pony keg, and each one of them, they take their hats off at the exact same time. Ta-da! The winners! And again, the 3 of us, those guys are teetotalers, and of course I'm an alcoholic. But again, still, it was just amazing to be able to see, the change, from this drunken, poor thief, calling shakies, trying to eat and stealing money by selling newspapers. Now was on the exact opposite end of things. I was a drug and alcohol counselor. I was on the positive end. I was clean, sober. I was happy, joyous, and free. And I was gifted with the opportunity to be able to share that with others and let them, find this incredible path that we're on, this path to a happy destiny. And it was great to experience that. And to be able to watch the Derby on TV, it just brings back so many memories of Louisville, Kentucky, and all of the beautiful, beautiful, wonderful people who are in the recovering community, just the whole community itself. But, especially my dear friends at the Healing Place, 1020 West Market Street, Louisville, Kentucky. What a wonderful, wonderful place that is that God put on this earth, and the Healing Place for women. It's just this great treatment center that really doesn't care about the fact that you're homeless, and you need treatment. How much do you need? You're going to take 18 months, 2 years, whatever it's going to take. You'll go when you're better, and it's just a wonderful place. And that's kind of what Louisville is like. There's just it's a very caring, open, loving community, and I miss it a great deal. And I certainly miss the recovering community there. And if they're listening to this, God bless each and every one of you.
Let me ask you a question about going back to places that remind you of drinking, because that would be the first thing that I would do. Because the Derby itself is all about. Well, I shouldn't say it's all about that. It's about the horse race and everything, and the glitz and glamour that goes along with it. But drinking does play a big role in it. And mint julep, it has its own drink.
It's a great question. I'm glad you asked that, because I can tell you, go to the opposite end to my friend Milton. When Derby Week showed up, Milton was sober as a judge, just did a great job in Alcoholics Anonymous. But when Derby Week showed up, I'm not making this up, he'd lock himself up in a mental institution because he was just too afraid. Our Lady of Peace said, "Put me in here for a week. Oh, I don't want to be out there with all that insanity."
Right.
But see, you're answering to what the problem is, and the problem is fear. And that's as I've said 1,000 times. I think this is the disease of fear, not the disease of addiction. And he was overwhelmed by that fear that something is going to happen. Well, the truth of the matter is nothing is going to happen, and that we can live life on life's terms, and we can enjoy everything that everyone else can. We've just given up our right to chemical peace of mind. The beauty of it is we found this other peace of mind that is so overwhelming that living life one day at a time has become spectacular. And then Milton finally came out of the mental institution during Derby Week, and now just has a wonderful time and doesn't feel threatened by it. We are the only ones who had to give up our right to chemical peace of mind. Nobody else did. And it is a part of our society, and it is out there. And as long as it is not in my hand, I'll be all right. And as long as I am around it and have a reason to be there, be it business or if I'm out to dinner or something of that nature, fine. It's just part of our society. It's part of sociology to be able to, drink in this country of ours. And I've given that up. You've given that up. But what we've gotten in return is just indefinable.
Well, I'm glad that you cleared that up, because I would have the fear of going back as well.
Sure.
Now, coming up in our next segment, we're going to talk about attitude. Jerry and I are going to bring up attitude and how important that is in your everyday life, and especially in your sobriety. This is Trudge the Road. It is sponsored by Caron Treatment Centers. Caron's a nonprofit leading provider of drug and alcohol addiction treatment. Caron specializes in men's and women's services, as well as young adult males and females, plus a relapse program and outpatient services. If you're concerned about yourself or a loved one, call 1-800-854-6023, or you can go to their website, caron.org. That's CARON.org. For Jerry, I'm Rich. This is Trudge the Road.
You're listening to Trudge the Road. Coming up, Rich and Jerry discuss attitude and how important it is in your recovery and just life in general. That's next on the Trudge the Road Radio Network.
Hi, this is Rich, your co-host for the Trudge the Road radio program, and there's a question I get all the time, and that is, how do we catch prior episodes of Trudge the Road if we miss the radio show? And it's very simple. You just go to youtube.com and in the search engine, type in, without any spaces, Trudge the Road Radio, and all our shows will come up. We also invite you to like our Facebook page, which can be found by typing Trudge the Road Radio with spaces into the search engine. And thank you from Jerry and myself for listening to Trudge the Road.
There is a new phase of recovery, and you see it in the pages of Renew Magazine and at RenewEveryday.com. Renew and RenewEveryday.com are changing the face of recovery for good. Each issue is filled with positive role models, life-affirming stories, encouragement, and ideas to help any life in recovery. Whether you're already enjoying an addiction-free life, have a loved one facing his challenges, or are considering recovery, Renew and RenewEveryday.com can support and inspire you. Join us. Check out RenewEveryday.com to learn more. At Northbound Treatment Services in Newport Beach, California, we believe that treatment is the beginning of a new way of life. Our brand signifies our own commitment to help our clients find new direction and strength on their road to recovery. Our mission is simple: to assist our clients in successfully celebrating 1 year of continuous sobriety. This mission is achieved through unique treatment models, individualized treatment plans, graduated phase systems, and exceptional staff, 12-step philosophies, and a strong alumni program. The Northbound experience focuses on effectively delivering innovative treatment. We are located in the beautiful and vibrant recovering community of Orange County, California. The Northbound experience takes our clients beyond treatment. We are Northbound.
Welcome back to Trudge the Road. It's sponsored by Caron Treatment Centers. Caron, a nonprofit leading provider of drug and alcohol addiction treatment with treatment facilities in Pennsylvania, Florida, Texas, and offices in Bermuda, Boston, New York, Philadelphia, and Washington, D.C. They can be reached by calling 1-800-854-6023, or you can go to their website, caron.org. That's CARON.org. We're your hosts. I'm Rich, a recovered drug addict.
My name is Jerry, and I'm a sober alcoholic.
And you are Jerry, who hosts the 12 Steps, Jerry and the 12 Steps. It is a brand new recovery tool that is available via our website, recoveryforlifechannel.com. That is all one word, recoveryforlifechannel.com. And Jerry, you've done a fantastic job with this disc. I think it is a very important recovery tool.
I think it will be very, very helpful. I've been blessed to have so many wonderful teachers within the recovering community, and I've learned a lot, and I take no credit for the information that I've got on there. It's everything that I have learned. It's nothing original, but it is easy. It is relatable. It is informative, and I think delivered in a manner which will kind of, give us a little bit of motivation, if you will, to begin this process of the 12 steps, because that's what we have to do. The 12 steps are a blueprint for living, and its goal is for us to have a spiritual awakening. And this will give, for example, if you're a sponsor and you've got a sponsee and you're focusing on a certain step, this will give you a great starting point. And give you an opportunity for your sponsee to maybe have some questions right away that you'll be able to answer. There won't be any problem. It just opens the door, and that's all it is. It's a tool to open the door and encourage each one of us to go through all these 12 steps so you too can experience that spiritual awakening.
And if you're someone who is trying to get a better understanding of the 12 steps, say you're a normie,
sure.
You're a non-addicted person, and you've always wondered about these 12 steps, this is a great way to gather some very relatable knowledge.
Exactly. You'll be surprised that the word alcohol is only used one time in the 12 steps. And again, it is for us, it's a path to living. We have to start it over again, if you will. And this is the plan. These are the directions. This is the design for us to be able to live life on life's terms successfully, as well as open the door to happiness, to joy, to freedom, and then again to open that next door to the opportunity of helping another individual recover from this dilemma. It's a wonderful and epic journey, these 12 steps, and this is something that will give you a foundation, give you a little motivation, and maybe a laugh or two along the way also.
And if you're thinking, oh man, I don't know if I could sit through an hour and a half, it's not. It's it's 23 minutes?
Exactly, the whole thing. It's about 5 minutes a step, if you will. Yeah. But it's a good starting point. It really is.
recoveryforlifechannel.com. That is the website, recoveryforlifechannel.com. So here we are talking about attitude. Yeah. That's what we want to talk about. Attitude.
Before we do, can I just quote you?
Me?
We were not that we were telling war stories or horror stories, but this is what Rich said a couple minutes ago. Crack was so bad, I just had to go back to meth.
I did say that.
I think that just says so much.
Well, we were talking about Well, we were talking about past experiences and trouble. I took a year off from my meth addiction to become a crackhead.
Good for you.
Moving up in
Good
the
for
world,
you.
dude.
And it was so cumbersome to not only procure the drug and to evade police and everything else that I just went back to meth. And there is nothing funny about my addiction, but that was true. I did take a year off to do that.
Oh, crack is horrible.
It is horrible.
I was
they're all horrible.
I was working in Louisville, Kentucky, in the 90s, kind of the height of the crack epidemic, on the street level drug and alcohol counselor, and it was horrifying. And the calls that we would get, when people had reached that point of desperation, and their usual point of desperation was, I don't have any money to buy any more crack, so I better call these guys, try and get some help. And as I told you, inevitably, they'd be in a cheap hotel room, and we would find them always, not 10% of the time, 20% of the time, 80%, 100% of the time, on all fours in that carpet and looking for a piece of crack that they may have dropped. And you call that?
I call that farming.
Farming.
Yeah, that was something that I would always do. I'd get down on all fours whenever it was gone and start running my fingers through the carpet to see what I could find. And everything looked like it belonged in that stem.
Gross.
Yeah, it was a terrible, terrible time. And as I said, and of course went back to the meth, and that led to a terrible time as well. And of course, now I'm happy, joyous, and free for many, many years, and my life is so much better. And I can look back at stuff because we've talked before about how we can look back at these things.
Exactly. That's the real amazing aspect of it, because I'm looking over here at Matt, our producer, as we're telling these stories, and he's got that look on his face like, oh my God, And for us, it's just part of our own sociology. And you look at, I'll give the example of my daughter, Chelsea, who literally grew up in Alcoholics Anonymous. As I was getting sober, if she was with me, she was going to end up in an AA meeting, and she loves Alcoholics Anonymous. It doesn't have this disease at all, but just loves that there's a feeling there. It's a spirit, it's kind of hard to define, but she's been able to pick up on it over the years. But the one thing that she finds most amazing, and it's just absolutely synonymous with the expression that was just on your face, is how we can laugh, and not just laugh, but laugh almost hysterically at just absolute tragedy.
Right.
And the fact of the matter is we have to, because if we were to relive that tragedy in its actual emotional elements, it would be just too overwhelming. And she finds it just like he did there when you hear someone say, well, we were on our way to the beach, but we were fighting, and she stabbed me in the leg, and then I rolled the car, but it was right in front of the liquor store, and everybody, and she's in the back of the room going, oh my God,
Right.
And I look at that as one of the true blessings, really, of getting sober, is that ability to laugh at such things.
And I'll tell you another blessing is the ability to go into each day now with a better attitude toward life, toward living, and anything that I do in my life right now deals with attitude.
It does. It's so incredibly significant. And for us, for people who are addicted, I think that it's kind of hard to even define what our attitude is, because we're so used to being controlled by our feelings telling us what to do. So first, let's look at what are our feelings. Your feelings aren't good. They're not bad. They're not moral. They're not immoral. They are just there. They're just there. But for us, the addicted person, they're like the voices in our head,
Right.
and develop what, we may think is an attitude, and what really is fear, fear of what is going to happen, fear of what did happen, and, that inability to be able to maintain some semblance in the now. And that's why we always, stress this thing about one day at a time and staying in the now, because, the past is full of regret and the future is full of fear. But right now, it's okay, and I can develop an attitude to be okay in this moment, and one of the things that I would like to read to you was written by Charles Swindoll, and I think it is so applicable to anybody, but especially those of us, who suffer from the disease of addiction. And it's real quick, but listen carefully. It's simply entitled Attitude, and here it is. The longer I live, the more I realize the impact of attitude on life. Attitude to me is more important than facts. It is more important than the past, than education, than money, than circumstances, than failures, than successes, than what other people think or say or do. It is more important than appearance, gifted or skill. It will make or break a company, a church, a home. The remarkable thing is we have a choice every day regarding the attitude we will embrace for that day. We cannot change the fact that people will act in a certain way. We cannot change the inevitable, The only thing we can do is play on the one string we have, and that is our attitude. And I am convinced that life is 10% of what happens to me and 90% on how I react to it. And so it is with you. We are in charge of our attitudes.
I can't tell you how much that just relates to everyday situations, including situations that I might be currently going through.
Sure.
And every day when you get up and you face the day, attitude is so much is so important because let's just think about this for a second. You get up, you get in your car, you're going to work, somebody cuts you off in traffic, somebody's tailgating you. Now, what are you going to do?
Cop an attitude.
Exactly.
Yeah.
First thing you do is you start getting mad. Then you start imagining scenario. Okay, this is me. I start imagining scenarios of how I wish I had a mason jar and some gas so I can make a Molotov cocktail.
Wow, you are mad.
Well, I'm just saying these kind of things flash through your mind. But, when you step back for a second and you take that attitude and and check it. People always say, check your attitude. Well, check it and say, you're not going to do anything. He's going to ride your butt no matter what you do at this point. So, the only thing that is going to get you through this moment where it is starting to overwhelm you and conjure up these negative feelings is your attitude. Your attitude, like, you know what? He's riding my butt, but he's not going to ruin my day.
You know what I do when people cut me off?
What do you do?
I pray for them.
Yeah.
I do out loud, maybe a little, like, I hope God gives you everything you want in life. But I do that, and then take a little bit of a breath, but I understand that. And, our attitude, when you've got this disease, and especially when you're new, when you just get into this sobriety thing, well, we are so used to bad things happening that we expect and anticipate that to continue. Right. It's like this, when you get here, when you get sober, when you take that first step and you think that there's this magnificent mountain for you to climb, and you are so wrong, so wrong. You crested the top of the hill when you walked through the doors of the recovering community, whether it was AA or NA or Al-Anon. When you walked through those doors, you crested the top of the hill. You have to realize it's at that point where your nightmare is over. And then setting that new standard of an attitude can really, really change things in the way that you feel, the way that we project, and the way that we behave.
How are you going to let people affect you today when you go to work tomorrow? How are you going to walk in if the boss is being the way that he normally is and basically making your life miserable? How are you going to react to that? Are you going to fall in line with that and be miserable? Or are you going to say, you know what, that's the way he is. Those are the cards I'm dealt, and I'm going to go ahead and follow through with the rest of my day with a good attitude? Because as you said, it's 90%. Mm-hmm. It's 90% of everything that you do on a daily basis.
I love these words. I'm sorry you feel that way. I think those are some of the best words that we can have as recovering people. When we are maybe unjustifiably, if you will, attacked or somebody jumps our case or yells at us, and to use those words, I'm sorry you feel that way. It disengages everything because you're not being confrontational. You're just apologizing for the way that they feel, because that's the problem, is the way they feel. They're mad, they're angry, not you. They want to share that anger and that stress with you. And you're choosing at that point to say, no, I'm sorry that you feel that way, but I choose not to take that on.
I can remember when I was young and I had left my Van Halen record on the record player, and the volume was up loud, and my mom came in and said, you mind turning that down or taking that thing out of here? And I remember, throwing a fit. That's my music. And she goes, you better change your attitude, boy. And I remember, attitude, that was a big thing when I was young. Why are you always getting on me about my attitude? I don't have a bad attitude.
See what, and what you're showing there is alcoholism. And what does every alcoholic suffer from? Every single one of us. We are immature and we are perfectionists. And that's how we react. And I think that if you're listening out there and you've got somebody in your life who is an addicted person and you're not, you'll understand that immaturity when they're confronted about their behavior or, situations of that nature. And their reaction is usually very juvenile. No, I didn't. I did not me, to the point where of that denial, where it's a case of sanity versus insanity. And this is what happened. Here's sanity in my left hand. Here's insanity in my right hand. They clash. And what unfortunately happens so many of the times is that insanity wins. because insanity can lie. Insanity can rationalize, Sanity has to tell the truth. It has to be semblant. And that's why after a while, you feel like the crazy one is the one who is right, and we get sucked into this disease.
Well, I can tell you that if that scenario played out today, I would say, oh, sure, Mom, I'll take it down. Oh, sure, Mom, I'll take it off. I'll turn it down. No problem. I'll put it away. I'll come back and I'll put it back on later.
There would be no emotion involved in it whatsoever. You wouldn't have any feelings attached to that. You would simply turn the stereo down.
Do you mind if I turn up this Marilyn Manson album instead? All right, coming up here in just a few minutes, we are going to talk about balance in the next segment.
Yeah.
What?
It's never going to happen.
You don't think balance?
Well, we don't need it. I'll tell you why. We don't need balance. If you're an alcoholic, don't need to have it. I'll explain.
Right, that's coming up in the next segment. This is Trudge the Road. It's sponsored by Caron Treatment Centers. Caron's a nonprofit leading provider of drug and alcohol addiction treatment. Caron specializes in men's and women's services, as well as young adult males and females, plus a relapse program and outpatient services. If you're concerned about yourself or a loved one, call 1-800-854-6023, or you can go to their website, caron.org. That's CARON.org. For Jerry, I'm Rich. This is Trudge the Road.
You're listening to Trudge the Road. Coming up, Rich and Jerry talk about the elusive balance we all try to attain, and also pink clouds. That's next on the Trudge the Road Radio Network.
At Northbound Treatment Services in Newport Beach, California, we believe that treatment is the beginning of a new way of life. Our brand signifies our own commitment to help our clients find new direction and strength on their road to recovery. Our mission is simple: to assist our clients in successfully celebrating 1 year of continuous sobriety. This mission is achieved through unique treatment models, individualized treatment plans, graduated phase systems, and exceptional staff, 12-step philosophies, and a strong alumni program. The Northbound experience focuses on effectively delivering innovative treatment. We are located in the beautiful and vibrant recovering community of Orange County, California. The Northbound experience takes our clients beyond treatment. We are Northbound.
Hi, this is Rich, your co-host for the Trudge the Road radio program, and there's a question I get all the time, and that is, how do we catch prior episodes of Trudge the Road if we miss the radio show? And it's very simple. You just go to youtube.com and in the search engine, type in, without any spaces, Trudge the Road Radio, and all our shows will come up. We also invite you to like our Facebook page, which can be found by typing Trudge the Road Radio with spaces into the search engine. And thank you from Jerry and myself for listening to Trudge the Road.
Welcome back to Trudge the Road. It's sponsored by Caron Treatment Centers. Caron is a nonprofit leading provider of drug and alcohol addiction treatment with treatment facilities in Pennsylvania, Florida, Texas, and offices in Bermuda, Boston, New York, Philadelphia, and Washington, D.C. They can be reached by calling 1-800-854-6023, or you can go to their website, caron.org. That's CARON.org. We're your hosts. I'm Rich, a recovered drug addict.
My name is Jerry, and I'm a sober alcoholic.
In the last segment, we talked about attitude and how important it is in your everyday life. And I would say that applies to even people who are non-addicted. Attitude is,
sure.
That is the thing that people run into right when they first meet you. How is your attitude? Mm-hmm. Is it good? This segment, we want to talk a little bit about balance. You laughed when I brought this up last time.
Well, for an alcoholic and a drug addict, which is what this program is all about, is for folks who suffer from the disease of addiction and you family members. We know you've got a lot of questions. We'll try to answer some of them, and with the good grace of the Lord above, provide a solution to this dilemma, the disease of addiction. Balance. Everybody wants balance in their life. As a matter of fact, I've even gone to therapists, and I remember going to a therapist, and our text, the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, is real clear. It says that, there's a world of great practitioners of mental health out there. Seek them out. It doesn't say you might want to look into it. Run. Seek them out. And I remember going to a therapist, a highly qualified one. She taught me a lot, but the first thing she asked me, she says, what do you want to accomplish out of this, Jerry? And I said, I want to be normal. and she said this, she said, normal is 98.6. And then I thought, okay, so that wasn't the right answer. I want balance. And she looked at my papers and she goes, well, you're an alcoholic and a drug addict. And I said, yes. And she goes, that's probably not going to happen. She said, and I said, well, I don't even know what's the question here, and she said, you're here because you want to be healthy. You want to be mentally healthy. And when we think that, we think balance. Well, if we got balance, so let's go back to who kind of gave us the formula for what is balance, and that's our old buddy Sigmund Freud.
Right.
The godfather of modern day psychotherapy. Now, Sigmund Freud defined somebody as being mentally healthy, and it's still well accepted within the therapeutic community today. We'll draw the circle there. If you work, love, and play in equivalent amounts. Work, love, and play in equivalent amounts. And that love, not just intimate love, but love of family and of friends, and of course, work, and then playtime. Now, you've been in the recovering community for over a decade. Name one person who has that going on for them.
Well, absolutely nobody.
We don't. And what's usually out of whack is work, because that makes us feel better. And it's important that we strive, I think, for this balance. But are we ever going to achieve it as an addicted person? It's never going to happen. And that's okay. Doesn't need to. We absolutely have something that is better than balance. And what we have is a gift, and it's the gift of serenity. And that's what you get when you do these 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. You're gifted with the gift of serenity. And what that means is no matter what is going on in your life, no matter how out of whack the balance is, you're okay. You can be okay. You can function fine, you can do well, and you can maintain a healthy mind about you while all this is going on. It's this gift of serenity, because we're never really going to achieve that balance. And when we look at it and we look at the addicted person, where is it always really lacking in that circle? Work, love, play. And the reason for that is we don't know how. Alcoholics and drug, we don't know how to play when we get here. What all we really know is that we're immature and we're perfectionists. The two worst elements you can possibly have if you want to play a game. I got to be perfect at it, and if I'm not, I'm just going to be a little baby. So and that's a real problem, because we have to learn how to play, because it is a fundamental part of being mentally healthy. And when you do it, and when you go out there, and when you experience it clean and sober, maybe after a couple of times, and you get this different feeling that you really never experienced before, you're having fun, because to a drug addict and alcoholic, I say, let's go have some fun. Well, that must mean whiskey and blow,
right.
And that certainly is not the case. And that's why none of us really, we just have not matured. Where you picked up the drinking and the drugs, really, that's kind of where you left off. So if that was when you were 14 years old, basically that's kind of where your level of maturity is right now. And it takes time to catch up, but it does not take years. That's the beauty of the steps. It will bring you up to date, if you will, and you will be able to function and have play. And then it comes that love part, love of family and friends. That's difficult, and how does it begin? It begins within the recovering community, within the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. And that's by experiencing love and by seeing what is unconditional love. And that's the way it is. It's unconditional. We love you no matter what, and when you walk in the rooms of AA, or when I walk in the rooms of AA, you already know about 90% about me. It's just the details you don't know. There are so many similarities to us that we can understand. And what is it that we understand is that pain, and we can deal with that pain through the 12 steps, and you walk out of this happy, joyous, and free. Will you ever have that balance, that equation of mental health, of work, love, and play, and being in perfect amounts? Probably not. Don't care. It's okay. Serenity is so much better. Serenity is so much better. And that's just one of the many, many gifts that you get in the process of this recovering journey.
I think it's also important to point out that when you try to find balance in your life as an addicted person, you have to understand that even people who aren't addicted have trouble with balance. It's just how they deal with things. And we don't deal with things very well sometimes.
Yeah.
Because let's just say we have this projection of this great balance. You were talking about, play, and you're talking about love, and you're talking about work. Because the first time something starts going awry at work, it throws everything else out of balance. Kilter. And how do we deal with that? Do we deal with that by overcompensating here,
yes,
or over dramatizing here? And next thing you know, my life is so out of whack. I just can't get it together.
Usually we overdose on something that we think that is good for us. For example, I'm going to make $1 zillion. That will cure it all. Everything will be okay. And I have friends in this program, and I swear to you, I'm not exaggerating, who have made tons and tons of money. And you know what they were? They were miserable. They were, and I asked him, I said, did it make it okay right here? And I'm pointing to that that spot in your stomach, where the whiskey brought a lot of comfort, that empty spot right there. Did the money fix it? Was it okay? Were you okay after this? No, man, I wanted to hang myself on my yacht, and I've known people, and I'm not, physical fitness is incredibly important, but I've known people who've overdosed on it, and have become Olympic type of looking people. And did that fix it? Did that fix that hole right there in your stomach, that place where it hurts, doing all this? Are you okay? No, man, I want to hang myself on my Bowflex. It's not, this is an inside job. It's not an outside job. And we can't look at things on the outside to make us feel good on the inside. That's the process of the 12 steps. That's where the miracle occurs. That's where the gifts are received. It's in doing those efforts, not to knock physical fitness. Get out there and do it. That's great for you. Work every day. That's important, but you have to be able to deal with this on its terms. And this is a disease, and it is a bad disease. And I've given you the explanation before, and I'll give it to you once again. When you say it, when you accept it, when you say, I have this disease, I am an alcoholic, I'm a drug addict, what you are saying, and this is absolutely true, is there is a loaded .357 Magnum pointed right to the temple of your head. It has got 6 hollow point bullets in it. The hammer is cocked. Your finger is on the trigger, and it is going to go off. This is a fatal disease. There is no cure for it. What we do here, one step at a time, is get your finger off the trigger, get that hammer back, get the gun away from your head, get it on the table, and slide it away. But it's always there. It's right there. And I know that sounds a little bit dramatic, but it is reality. That's what we are facing on a day-to-day basis, is an incurable disease. Thank God we have this spiritual approach, these 12 steps that we can take to learn to live rationally and be able to have this spiritual experience at the conclusion of these steps that provides us so much more than we ever imagined in life that it is impossible to explain. But we have promises within this program, and it is in those promises, and it does happen to everybody who does them.
Okay, Jerry, then where in the steps do we lose so many people?
At amazed. That's where we lose them, is at amazed. You'll be amazed before you're halfway through. It's in that 1, 2, 3 step where, you get in, you stop drinking, your health gets better, the bills start getting paid, you start getting along a little bit better with the family and friends, and you think everything is okay. As a matter of fact, you are amazed at how well things are going, and so you stop doing the program there. That's where we lose everybody, is at that feeling of amazed. That is just when the door is beginning to open. The difficult part, if you will, the 4th step to follow, those things that are counterintuitive that we don't want to do, that are ahead of us. Why do them if I'm feeling amazed? And I can understand that, but that feeling of amazement will be temporary because you still don't have the skills to live life on life's terms. Those come as you develop through the steps of Alcoholics Anonymous.
And we talked to Tara Connor just a couple of weeks ago, and Tara was talking about that as well, how amazed and how that pink cloud stuck with her for about a year, and then she just kind of peaked, and then she was like,
what now?
What now?
Yeah.
And that's a very dangerous part of your recovery as well, because you're like, what now? And we're so used to those 3 emotions that you talk about.
Exactly. And again, I think you're talking too about a matter of perception, but the 3 emotions that you're talking about, and they affect all of us. When we get here, we only are feeling 3 things. We're feeling elation, anxiety, and despair. And that's it. And, to explain a little bit further, we got the dope. Oh, my gosh. Here comes that elation. The dope is running out. Anxiety. The dope is gone. Total despair. And the only thing that will cure that is that elation again, so that cycle starts. But it is, it's a matter of perception. The pink cloud syndrome, and I do believe that is an issue of perception. And it's so exciting and it's so scary at the same time. And what that is, and it usually begins after we've, got the drugs and alcohol out of our system and we've begun an entrance into the recovering community, that you get this pink cloud, that everything is so good and you're excited and you're happy and you're projecting nothing but happiness and love, and it's wonderful. It's a wonderful feeling, but then it stops, and then you're faced with reality, and they say that the pink cloud is gone. That, I believe, is perception, and it's just my opinion, strictly my opinion, that there is no such thing as a pink cloud. I really believe that is a time period where God is literally just holding you in the palm of his hand and giving you an opportunity to rest and heal a little bit. And it doesn't go away. What is happening at that point is God is putting you on your own 2 feet and saying that you have to walk from here, but I'm going to be right by your side the whole time. And anytime you really need to fall back into that hand, you absolutely can. But I think that is what is telling us that, if you will, the pink cloud is gone. It's time now to grow. It's time now to take that next step, to move on and to learn more and to accept more and to experience more of the grace that is going to be just given to you in the process of doing these 12 steps.
Well, like Tara said, the pink cloud was just because she finally felt like she could rest. She no longer had to be somebody to everybody anymore. anymore. And a lot of the pressures and stresses come off us at that time, because when you're out there and you're using, I mean, from my example is that, I was lying for 20 years. Sure. I was lying to everybody, and I was trying to be this person to my employer, and this person to my girlfriend, and this person to my kids, and this person over here.
What a circus act. I know.
And it was insane. I had all these balls going in the air, and the whole time I was living this giant lie. And finally, I no longer had to live the lie, and I could be honest with myself. And that's really where it starts beginning, when you start being honest with yourself. And that's where my pink cloud came from.
I was a therapist for a long time, and a question is always asked in therapy: how do we know when we're done? And of course, the usual answer is when the insurance quits paying. But no, when you're done, when you're done with me as a therapist or any therapist, your finish is when you start telling the truth. That's it. When you start telling the truth, I'm really not necessary for you anymore. And that's the point we want to get to, is get you to tell the truth.
And then you can begin trying, at least striving for the balance.
Absolutely. Strive for it, look for it, understand it, but accept the fact, and it's a good one, that we are gifted with this wonderful gift, serenity. And it comes to each one of us who does the 12 steps.
We're going to wrap things up here in our final segment. We'll recap a little bit about what we talked about. This is Trudge the Road, sponsored by Caron Treatment Centers. Caron is a nonprofit leading provider of drug and alcohol addiction treatment. Caron specializes in men's and women's services, as well as young adult males and females, plus a relapse program and outpatient services. If you're concerned about yourself or a loved one, pick up the phone, make that call, 1-800-854-6023, or you can go to their website, caron.org. That's CARON.org. For Jerry, I'm Rich. This is Trudge the Road.
You're listening to Trudge the Road. Coming up, Rich and Jerry recap today's show, and also Jerry gives his take on the most difficult of the steps. That's next on the Trudge the Road Radio Network.
At Northbound Treatment Services in Newport Beach, California, we believe that treatment is the beginning of a new way of life. Our brand signifies our own commitment to help our clients find new direction and strength on their road to recovery. Our mission is simple: to assist our clients in successfully celebrating 1 year of continuous sobriety. This mission is achieved through unique treatment models, individualized treatment plans, graduated phase systems, and exceptional staff, 12-step philosophies, and a strong alumni program. The Northbound experience focuses on effectively delivering innovative treatment. We are located in the beautiful and vibrant recovering community of Orange County, California. The Northbound experience takes our clients beyond treatment. We are Northbound.
Welcome back to Trudge the Road. It's sponsored by Caron Treatment Centers. Caron is a nonprofit leading provider of drug and alcohol addiction treatment with treatment facilities in Pennsylvania, Florida, Texas, offices in Bermuda, Boston, New York, Philadelphia, and Washington, D.C. They can be reached by calling 1-800-854-6023, or you can go to their website, caron.org. That's CARON.org. We're your hosts. I'm Rich, a recovered drug addict.
My name is Jerry, and I'm a sober alcoholic.
And this show has been a lot of fun here as we wrap up in the final segment. The very first segment, we talked a little bit about Louisville, and that is where that's where you got sober
yes,
at.
I love Louisville.
We talked about the Kentucky Derby and how you snuck booze in there, and mint juleps and how horrible they taste.
Yeah, we had a drunk Kentucky Derby, and we had a sober Kentucky Derby in the story.
And the second segment, we talked about attitude and how attitude really makes up how you're going to get through your day. I mean, is your day going to be pleasant? Well, it probably could be if you adhered to the adage that life is 90% attitude.
Exactly. I'm convinced that life is 10% of what happens to me and 90% of how I react to it. And that's very true.
And in the last segment, we talked about balance and how we'll never achieve it in life.
I don't need it. Got serenity.
And we also talked about pink clouds. Now, the reason I recap like this is because we encourage you to catch prior shows on YouTube. So if you missed this show, it will be posted soon. You can go to YouTube.com and just type Trudge the Road Radio into the search engine, and boom, all of our shows will come up at that spot. We also have a DVD that was recently released, and it focuses on you, Jerry. As a matter of fact, you're the only one in it. That's why it's called Jerry and the 12 Steps. And we think it is a fantastic recovery tool if you're somebody that's trying to understand the 12 Steps. As you mentioned, if you're a sponsor and you want a different way to kind of present the 12 Steps to somebody, or maybe you're just a non-addicted person that is trying to get a grasp because a family member might be addicted as well.
It's a great tool. I think that you'll enjoy it. We're real excited about it. It's called Jerry and the 12 Steps. It's not long, and what it does is it starts a conversation. It opens the door. It gives a little bit of motivation for us to continue on this journey of epic proportion. But to do that, it's a continuation of the steps, and that's what we want you to do with each one of the 12 steps we go through, and encourage you to complete that one and move on to the next one, so you too can have that spiritual experience that's waiting for you at the end of step 12.
Let me ask you a question. Of the 12 steps, what do you think the hardest step for anyone to do? I know a lot of people say the very first step.
Yeah.
But, if you go through the 12 steps, what is the one? I mean, admitting we're powerless over alcohol, that's
surrender. Yeah, I think scary 4 and 9 are probably the ones that have the most fear in them. Maybe 5 to a certain degree, but that fearless moral inventory, well, that's just counterintuitive. I don't want to, who would want to write down all of the ugly things that we have done in life? I mean, that's asking a lot of anybody, but we have to here, because it's all about change. And what we discover in the 4th step is who you are not. That's really important. Just because it's what you did does not define who you are. We don't know who that is yet. We will later in the steps. We just know this is who you are not. And it's scary to face that. And that brings up courage. What is courage? And for me, and I think for so many of us, that we define courage as lack of fear. And that's not the case at all. Courage is walking through something that scares the heck out of you. And facing that 4th step is a big one. And the 9th step, making those direct amends to people, that, and again, don't worry about it now if you're not there, because you will be gifted as you get to the 9th step with one of the true great gifts, and that's the gift of willingness. And willingness, to me, is somewhat of a cross between desire and courage. You know that the promises of Alcoholics Anonymous are about to come true. They come true in the 9th step, where we make those direct amends to such people, to any people that we have harmed wherever possible. And amends, not the, I'm sorry. My God, how many times have I told you I'm sorry? 1,000,000. But I've never told you I was wrong. I'm wrong, and I'm here today to do what I can to make it right, to make amends. And those are loaded with fear, and this disease is the disease of fear. So stay in the now where you are in the steps, and understand that God will provide for you the necessary courage and elements if you just put the next foot forward. That's all you have to do, and a good sponsor will really help you.
Well, it's very difficult, for a lot of people to get their head around everything that we talk about when we talk about the 12 steps. Somebody, for example, like me, who started drinking at 14, and I believe you were somewhere in that range as well, or maybe
11,
younger than that,
yeah.
And didn't find, my sobriety until I was in my 30s, into my later 30s. So think about the maturity level that I had in my late 30s. And I feel like, we've talked about growth, and that was something we talked about a few weeks ago.
In the years that I've known you, I have seen tremendous growth, tremendous maturity, tremendous change, and I think that I'm probably more akin to that than you are, having experienced it as yourself, because of the root of our problem, our selfishness and self-centeredness. We don't see our own growth. That's why it's so important to go to meetings, so other people can and tell you about it. You're doing good.
How odd is that you don't see your own growth and sobriety, and you don't see your own troublemaking when you're high?
Part of the mystery of this disease, and there are many mysteries about it. We're just beginning. We are just beginning.
Well, the DVD, again, is called Jerry and the 12 Steps. We think it's a great recovery tool. If you happen to be maybe a treatment center and you want to get a copy to everybody.
Find it really helpful.
Yeah, to all your clients or anybody that graduates. Maybe you run a fellowship somewhere and you'd like to get some copies out there. All you have to do is go to our website, recoveryforlifechannel.com. Again, I know this DVD comes from us, but I got to tell you, when I watched it, it was compelling. It was easy to understand, and it kept me glued to it. It wasn't an hour and a half long. It wasn't you and a chalkboard, and nothing against anybody that uses a chalkboard.
No, I love that man.
But But, a lot of people use chalkboards. Right. I'm not referring to anybody in particular. But it's just you sitting there and talking to me. And I think that's what it is that compels me the most is you making that eye contact with me.
I think that's what it is. There's eye-to-eye communication there. There's somehow or another, it's a connection of the soul, and we'll give credit to God for that one.
And you could also catch us on Twitter at TTR Show. That is our Twitter page, and Facebook. We have a Facebook page as well. It's Trudge the Road Radio. Big thank you to Matt, the producer, whom we heard from in this first segment but did not identify. He is that microphone back there. Thanks, Matt.
I'm just the voice that chimes in every now and again.
Yeah. It's funny how he sits there and he just kind of holds onto that microphone, just waiting for a moment to jump in. He's got his shades on and his headphones. And
he puts those shades on because he's so amazed at what we talk about. It just blows him away.
That's it. That's exactly it.
Hey, this is Trudge the Road. It is sponsored by Karen Treatment Centers. Karen is a nonprofit leading provider of drug and alcohol addiction treatment. Karen specializes in men's and women's services, as well as young adult males and females, plus a relapse program and outpatient services. If you're concerned about yourself or a loved one, pick up the phone and make that call, 1-800-854-6023, or you can go to their website, Caron.org. That's CARON.org. For Jerry, that's you. I'm Rich. This has been the Trudge the Road radio show on the Trudge the Road Radio Network.
You've been listening to Trudge the Road. If you'd like to catch prior episodes, you can visit our website, trudgetheroadradio.com, and keep listening for new episodes on this great radio station, which is part of the Trudge the Road Radio Network.
Thank you for listening to Trudge the Road. The opinions expressed in the show are those of myself, Jerry, my co-host, Rich, and our guests, and not necessarily those of the Karen Treatment Centers. For more information regarding the show, go to our website, trudgetheroadradio.com.